Hello and welcome back to the interview. Today I am joined with JaackMaate. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on. We've been trying to make this happen
Appreciate
for a long time, so it's good to be on.
Yes, we have. Yeah, it's obviously you saw my interview with Robbie Knox, didn't you? I think was the one you saw.
Yes, I enjoyed it. He's a character, isn't he?
He is. He's good. He's fantastic. I was thinking just before we came on. You are the youngest guest that we've had on. You're the first guest under the age of 30 that I've had on.
That's mental, because, I mean, I turn 27 next week. Well, I don't know when you're putting this out, but I turn 27 soon, and I feel like an old bastard. So that's made my day, that has. So nice one.
You are, yeah, because we've had Mark Goldbridge was the first one, then there was James Olcott, Blue Van Man, and then Robbie Knox.
Oh, amazing.
So they've all been like over 30, so you're the first one.
Great roster of people as well. All good guests.
You're only the fifth guest. I've been doing this for over a year now. You're only the fifth guest. That's how difficult it is to get people on.
Yeah, but that's because you're aiming high, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly,
you're aiming for the best, so fair play to you.
I am. Only the best get on this channel. and me. So today I want to obviously talk about, things from right at the start. Well, not right at the start, obviously.
Yeah.
Not conception, but a little bit further on from that bit. And obviously where your YouTube career started and then sort of move on towards where we are now.
Sweet.
So first of all, how did you start a YouTube channel? Why did you start a YouTube channel? Like, what was the thinking behind starting one up?
I started way back in the day. Like, I'm one of the OG YouTubers. I think I started 10, 11 years ago. 2008 I started, because I remember it being on my old channel, and I had a number of different channels. I had a Call of Duty channel, which I tweeted about the other day.
I just saw that, yeah.
I had a channel where I'd just I'd find new songs and I'd just upload them. This was before copyright was a big thing. Do you remember that song by Sam Sparrow that went black and gold?
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
So one day my dad was driving somewhere and he heard it on the radio and he was like, mate, you need to get on this. So I uploaded it and it got like 100,000 views overnight. This was like back in 2009, 2010, whenever it came out.
Right.
And this channel blew up. And then obviously copyright came in. It got
that became a problem.
Yeah, it got taken off. I worked for Tim Minchin for a little bit at the start. I was a big fan of the comedian Tim Minchin, so I made like a fan channel for him. He was I think his team were a bit annoyed because I was, again, just plagiarising all of their stuff. But we made a deal where I could keep running that channel if I worked on his channel as well. So I was kind of like doing the both. And then I used that channel to promote my vlogs after watching Charlie Is So Cool. Like, I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do, yeah.
And I wanted a bit of that, wanted to get in front of the camera, so I basically used the Tim Minchin channel to bring people over. And then here we are, 10 years on. Mad.
And so what age were you when you first started your YouTube channel? Like, what age were you being? Because I was 13 when I started mine in 2012.
Wow, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I was 15 when I got in front of the camera.
Right.
But I was probably doing YouTube, like editing little bits and bobs, like Call of Duty videos way before that. So I'm probably about the same age as you were, but 15 when I got in front of the camera.
And so what did your family and friends think about it? Did you tell them about it to begin with?
I did. When I was at school, I told everyone about it because I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, but they didn't. Like,
yeah. It's still very much an outside thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, like for the weirdos to do. Like, but now kind of every man and his dog are doing it. But back then I was doing videos like Tyler Oakley did a video where it's so hard to explain, but he had a Wiimote. Controller for a Wii, and it was just the many things you can do with a Wiimote, and it was just like that was the old school YouTube. So I did a parody of that and did the many things you can do with a banana. I thought it was well funny, but I was just walking down like the school corridors and hearing people go, "What can you do with a banana?" And it was just like the most embarrassing thing.
Oh no!
Yeah, and everyone was mugging me off for it. I went to my football team. I played for a football team at the time. They were all mugging me off for it.
Did you have your videos played in lessons? Because I had that a few times.
Yeah, that's cringy because they're not doing it to be nice. They're doing it to try and mug you off. So then when I left school and then I went to college, I thought, fuck this, I'm not going to tell anyone at college that I do these videos.
Start.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit in the corner, get my head down, because I got in a bit of trouble at school. So I thought, college, I'll get my head down and I'll work hard. And then one day, after about say about month, 2 months, I came in and everyone had my video on the computer screens. And
wow.
I was shitting myself. But it was kind of bittersweet because the reason in which they'd found it is because I was featured on the homepage for the first time ever. So
right.
I was buzzing in that respect, but also kind of gutted that everyone knew that I did it. But then I didn't get the same stigma as I did at school because they've seen me on the homepage. So therefore, by default,
You got a bit of respect by that.
Yeah. So it was completely contrasting to how I was at school.
How would you describe yourself at school? And were you like one of the quiet kids? Were you one of the cool kids, the smart kids, like funny? Were you the class clown?
The first few years, I was just like the little ginger, like just like people would probably laugh more at me than with me. Then I discovered bleach. I dyed my hair, got a bit confident. I moved all sets over. I remember I got moved over into a class with like the cool guy from the alpha male guy, and I thought, right, if I can make him laugh, I'll be fine. Made him laugh, and then from that moment on, I was okay. People started to laugh with me more than at me.
Right, so it changed a bit at that point.
Yeah, but it kind of fucked up my grades and stuff because I was like predicted to get straight A's, but because in year 10 and 11 I wanted to make people laugh more than succeed in school. Mm-hmm. My street cred went up, if you can call it that, but my grades definitely went down. So I ended up getting kicked out of sixth form for fucking about too much. Oh, can I swear on this channel or?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, you can bleep it.
So for you, was it quite a big deal when you first started your YouTube channel? Were you really into it? Were you doing it every single day? Like, how did it feel?
My mum and my dad had two different opinions on it. So I had to use the computer in my mum's bedroom, tiny little webcam, terrible quality, and I had to kind of like get on the computer whenever my mum wasn't and whenever my sister wasn't. Whereas my dad, bless him, he really got it. He really could see that something creative was happening. So yeah. I was, especially when I made my first £60, because I don't know if they do it now still, but YouTube used to have a thing where they wouldn't pay you unless you hit £60. So
yeah, there used to be like a threshold.
Yeah,
some companies have. Yeah.
So when I first hit that, my dad was very supportive. He was like, he could be onto something here. The way in which the internet's changing now, people are making money online, and he really backed me. So at any given point, my dad would constantly be kind of like prodding me with a stick to go and make something else, do something different. Whereas my mum kind of saw it as a bit of a hobby and a bit of a time waste. So I owe a lot to my dad. But to answer your question, I didn't ever see the kind of like financial benefit in YouTube. I never knew you could make money. I never knew there'd be any experiences and stuff. So I at the start, I had a lot more love for it than I do now, because although I do still enjoy YouTube, it is a job. I do have to do things to generate an income. Whereas back at the start, you play Modern Warfare 2 when you come home from school and you have a bottle of Lucozade, whatever, and then you do your hobbies on the side. So yeah, I guess you could say at the start it was 100% YouTube in my life.
And it seems like you're more one of those sort of YouTubers, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems like you're more one of those YouTubers that have friends outside of YouTube as well as in YouTube, but a bit more sort of split than some, because like some people literally just mates with YouTubers, but it seems like you've got mates outside of that.
Yeah, I couldn't just be friends with YouTubers.
What a nightmare that would be.
It's just even the friends I am, even the YouTubers I am friends with, I should say, on YouTube, it seems that, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it does seem that their entire life is YouTube. And I would go insane if my entire life was YouTube. So I see myself as a normal 26, almost 27-year-old that does YouTube, whereas these other guys see themselves as YouTubers. They don't like, and I think that's a dangerous way to live, because you start to immerse yourself. If you start to fully immerse yourself, you forget what's real and what's not. So you might base your friendships on who's doing well on YouTube, who's going to benefit me, who should I collaborate with. Whereas one of my most recent videos is just with my mate Alfie, who's a musician. Like, if there's somebody I like who's a real person, it doesn't matter how many subscribers they've got or what they do in life, I prefer just to hang around with them. So yeah, YouTube, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say YouTube's probably 30% of my life, and then I've got 70% I do my own thing. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that, because a lot of people, their work has to take up like a large portion, whereas I'll do what I have to do, and then I'll have my life on the side. I keep it very separate.
Yeah, you feel like does that separation help you? Does that keep you sort of steady and not sort of too immersed in this sort of bubble of YouTube? Does that really help?
Yeah, 100%. Because there's been times where I've thought like, I've kind of had like a bit of an intervention. I've thought, right, I'm going to go 100% YouTube. Let's see what I can get. Let's see what I can get out of it. I'll do it for 2 months, and I start to change. The person that I am starts to change. I start doing everything based on, well, how much revenue is this going to get me? What opportunity is this going to get me? How many views am I going to get? When really, I'm like, I kind of just like to make a video trying to snog Greg Paul. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Those are the best sorts of videos, though. You've got to do them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, a lot of people moaned at me for my last video because I was just going through my most followed followers. But I'm completely honest for why that video exists. It was a brand deal. It's a brand-friendly brand deal that's going to pay my rent for the next few months and put some money in my bank account that's going to allow me to maybe go to Miami and do the Greg Paul type video. So if my audience can just let me do one shit video every now and then, that will allow me to do the content that I actually want to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and does Fiona help you massively, like, off camera from sort of distancing yourself from YouTube at times? Because obviously she's not really on social media at all, is she? So does that help things or hinder?
Yeah, no, that definitely helps. She used to have a job in retail. She used to work at the Co-op up until about 6 weeks ago when she left, and she now works for me now. So she doesn't have an official title. We tend to say manager in the emails. She's across all of like the more boring admin side of things. She comes to the podcast now. She listens live. She writes the edit notes down. She's very, very good. She's finding her feet, but she's very good. But because she was separate and she had her own kind of like work and stuff, now she is immersed in the YouTube world. I've got to now I've got to be even more careful to not fully let that get away from me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and she seems very sort of engaged and like she seems to sort of really help balance you out at times as well, like move you away from the YouTube sort of thing and sort of, I suppose, take you out of the bubble for a minute. Has that been something you've experienced?
Yeah. So I will constantly be tweeting, as we know, sometimes a bit too much, and she will be the one that's like, don't fucking say that. Like, censor yourself.
Does she rein you in then? Does she quite a lot?
Yeah, she definitely reins me in. Like, before I render any video, I'll get her to watch it, and she'll sit there and like she'll be so serious in her eyes, and she'll be like, "You can't say that. That's offensive," and I'll have to sit there and I'll either agree with it and I'll take it out, or I'll explain why it's not offensive in a roundabout kind of way. So yeah, if it wasn't for her, I would have probably been cancelled far more than I have.
I also wanted to speak about how you and Fiona first met as well.
Yeah.
Was it on a night out you first met? Is that right?
Yeah. So there's a club in Norwich called Mantra, which I mean, as far as Norwich clubs go, it's probably the most towy club you'll get. So it's not my kind of scene. For about 6-7 years now, I've been going to the same place in Norwich. It's called the Waterfront. It's dirty, it's grimy, drinks are £2. You know what you're going to get. They play the same kind of propaganda music every week. You know what you're getting. Whereas I got banned from there for about a year.
Too many fights.
It's actually a funny story. I dressed up as Walter White from Breaking Bad and for Halloween, and some guy came up to me with some novelty crystal meth popping candy and said, "Oh, you should have this." So I was dishing it out, and they threw me out for dealing crystal meth. Now, I said to them, if I was going to deal crystal meth, I would not dress up as the most recognisable meth dealer on television. But so yeah, long story short, I got banned from there for a year. So I was heartbroken. So I decided to stick it to them and go to a pretentious club in Norwich. And then I went in one night, random night. There was hardly anyone in there, and Fiona was in there. And I was with Stevie, my co-host, so he was there the night. And and we got chatting and we swapped numbers, and then we met up a few days later, and then the rest was kind of history.
Is it true that she recognised you from YouTube? Had she seen you before?
Yeah, she had seen me before, but she didn't act like that. Like, she wasn't. She mentioned she'd seen me before, but she didn't ask for a picture. She didn't do any of that stuff, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm always willing to take photos, but I think I'd have probably been a bit more cautious to enter into a relationship with somebody that I consider to be a fan. So I never really got that vibe. And it wasn't until about 5 or 6 months into our relationship that she actually let on that she used to watch my second channel daily vlogs. So that's a bit fucking creepy.
Do you remember the first time you got recognised out in public for your videos? Because even like a small YouTuber like me, I've been recognised like half a dozen times, and it is strange. It is unusual.
Yeah, I do. I was due to go to V Festival in 2012, and me and my friends, for some reason, were excited to watch Bruno Mars. And
right, big fan.
Yeah. Do you remember the song that was like? The monkey, there was like loads of monkeys, like today I don't feel like
doing anything.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So we went to Primark because we were all going to buy monkey onesies. This is so cringy now I'm saying but
how old were you?
Old enough to know better, let's say that. And so we picked up these monkey onesies, and when I was in there, some young girl and her mum came over and asked me to sign a bit of paper. I remember it because I had 4 monkey onesies under one hand, so I had to like put them down and do it. But I was shaking. I was very nervous. I didn't know. Right. I never kind of expected it because, as I said, watching Charlie Is So Cool, like he was never. This was before YouTube fame was a big thing. He was just a vlogger in his bedroom. So I never really understood it. But I mean, it's always a pleasure when people come up, and I've always got time for everyone. So it's lovely.
And how many subscribers did you have? Like, what sort of stage were you at along, your YouTube career?
God knows. I don't know. If I was to have to pluck a number out of the air, I'd probably say about 10k, 15.
Yeah, that was about the same for me.
Yeah.
10k.
Yeah.
I was also wanting to know, because obviously your rise with YouTube has been, I'd say, quite gradual. Is that how you felt? Because you've obviously been on here quite a long time. Was there like a moment where you sort of had a bit of big spike? Was it the Zoella calendar video, or was it quite a gradual thing?
Yeah. It's been more gradual than most YouTubers, I'd say, because a lot of them get that big poof, and then overnight. But I still do have one of them, and you hit the nail on the head. It would have been the Zoella advent calendar, because I mean I was on 100k for about 3 years, so my channel was pretty much dead. It was pretty stagnant, right. and then I said to Fiona when we moved into this new place, I worked out that I needed to get 30,000 views per video, and I needed to upload 2 or 3 a week, every week, without missing one, in order to pay the rent. And I was just about hitting it. I did a podcast with Jimmy Conrad, bless him, who's brilliant. This is nothing against him, but it got 17k, and it was like, right. I was kind of like, oh shit, like I don't know if my channel's like on the way down now. Like I thought he was a big enough name to get the views in, and I was pretty depressed for a while. Well, I shouldn't say depressed, because obviously that's a real thing. I was pretty sad for a while, and November came around. I bought this advent calendar, and at the time, this is to show how much things can change overnight. I was worried about spending the money on it, because I didn't know if I could justify that kind, like 50 quid for a video, and I edited the video. It was going to be no one knows this, but it was going to be a normal rant video. I'd filmed a video just like talking about it, and then I was also going to upload the skit that you see today, which is me reviewing it as almost in her kind of style. And I binned off the rant and thought, that's quite good. The rant was a bit too harsh. Like I was saying, kind of going in on her a bit too much rather than the product. So I was sat in the pub one time, and the video was skit on my channel, private. And my mates were like, just put it out, mate. Like, there's nothing wrong with this review. It's funny. And I was like, because she's big at the time. She's like, she could kill me, like, on YouTube. And I had a few beers, got a bit of Dutch courage, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to hit public. And usually, as I said, I wanted 30k views in a week. And it got 30k in the first hour. And I was like, this is mental for me. Like, this is insane. And then since then, the views have just been up and up and up. So, yeah, I'd say that was the video that really changed everything.
Because you're a bit more of an outsider, weren't you, on YouTube? Like, you weren't as sort of part of you're more sort of the mainstream opinion, sort of one of the mainstream YouTubers now in the UK.
Yeah.
What was it like, sort of, how's it been, that sort of transition from sort of outsider opinion that, is against certain YouTubers to now you've got people on your side? What's it like?
It's again, it's bittersweet, because I still very much view myself as that person. Like, I'll call people out no matter, like obviously myself and Alex, we had a little bit of beef because he was a friend of mine. I called him out when I thought he did something that I didn't agree with. So I can never lose that element of giving my voice just because I'm friends with someone. Otherwise people will say, you're just like the people that you moan about. However, every YouTuber, every big YouTuber, they didn't want to know me. They didn't want to associate themselves with me because I was kind of like the troll under the bridge. You don't cross that bridge, leave him be. And then after the views started to come and people started to realise, actually, I quite agree with what this troll under the bridge is saying, they have realised that I can't be ignored anymore. And the fact that a lot of these YouTubers that ignored me for years, if you saw some of my DMs, you'd be blown away. Like the YouTubers that want to come on my podcast now. And I appreciate any YouTuber that comes on my podcast, 100%. Even if it's a YouTuber I completely don't like. If you're willing to come and have a debate with me face to face, props to you, fair play to you. But it's kind of like, it's kind of cool when you're at a YouTube event in LA, Miami, or whatever, and you're stood with some of the biggest YouTubers ever that didn't want to know you a few years ago, and it's kind of like, well, I'm here now, and whether you like it or not, I'm going to be involved in this shit.
Have you had a lot of YouTubers or celebrities or whoever DMing you and saying that they agree with your opinions on the things? Did you have that back in the day? Do you have it more so now?
I definitely have it more so now, and I have it from YouTubers that you wouldn't believe, sort of thing. Like, I have it from YouTubers that will never support me publicly, but in the DMs it's boom, 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 boom. There's a couple of mainstream celebrities, I guess you could say, who are big. Oh, well, not big fans of the channel, but Jack Whitehall, he likes videos. Yeah. He often sends me, his brother often sends me clips of them two watching my content and laughing, and I think they find the stuff about Alfie Days quite funny. There's Greg James once DM'd me and said I'm his spirit animal after I posted a video about a specific YouTuber. So I think a lot of these mainstream celebrities as well have kind of cottoned on to some of the kind of the not so good stuff that YouTubers have done, and I think they're for it.
I mean, the closest I can relate to that, I mean, not exactly a mainstream celebrity, or maybe they are, I don't know, but have you heard of Charlotte Crosby from Geordie Shore?
Yeah.
I had a weird moment, I think it was last week, where she put on her Instagram to her 7 million followers, her watching my Ex on the Beach video. That was such a weird moment for like a small YouTuber like me. Like, to have her sort of watching one of my videos and putting on a story is a bit of a strange moment.
No, that's class. That's class.
It is a bit of a weird. That's the closest I can relate to that.
Yeah, but mate, it's all steps. You got to climb up that ladder. But to answer your question about YouTubers, I'm certain there are some out there that still despise me, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But you'd be surprised at the ones that actually support me when it's off camera. You've
had obviously quite a lot of guests. You've worked with a lot of different celebrities and YouTubers and things like that. One of which, Ricky Gervais, you've had on your podcast a couple of times. You've also been on his podcast, I think, as well.
Yeah.
What was it like meeting him? Because, like, personally, I'm a big fan of him as well.
Yeah. Oh, he's just a pioneer of British comedy, isn't he? Like, he's always been my comedy hero. I know he gets embarrassed. He said in my last podcast that he gets embarrassed if he knows he's in the room with a fan. But there's no denying that I am a fan. Like, that's the reason I wanted to work with him for as long as I have. He is just the nicest man in the world, really. To run the risk of sounding a bit arrogant, I've worked and interviewed a number of celebrities across a number of things, and he is by far the most genuine bloke there is. Like, it's like sitting down with your older brother or your dad or your mate, and I don't know, there's just such a level of respect, such a high level of respect I have for him, that when he's in the room, there is no guest or there is no person I've ever made a video with in which I'm just looking at them and I'm just learning the whole time. Yeah, I'm just processing every word they say. And that's not to disrespect anyone else that comes on and shares their story, but he is just, I hold him to such high esteem that, it's just such an honour. And I don't know why we've worked together as many times as we have, but I appreciate it, of course.
I don't know about you, but I'm not one to be sort of like massively in awe of like celebrities and stuff like that. I don't really care about all that stuff. But like, for me, if there was one person, it would be him that, you can sort of look up to and like you feel something for, when you watch his work and things like that.
Yeah, I think I don't necessarily get starstruck, but I think there's a select few people on this earth. This is something my cousin said to me once, and I completely and utterly agree. But there's a select few people on this earth that have kind of like I don't mean this spiritually, but they have like an aura around them. So like when they walk in the room, you know that they're f***ing there. And Gervais definitely has that. Like he comes in, everyone looks at him, everyone knows that this is the guy. And I'll tell you who else has it. I'm going to sound like a bit of a brown noser here, but KSI, for the stuff that he's done on the platform and how lovely that man is when you see him, he definitely has an aura about him. Like there's a level of respect there that everyone in that room respects him, and so they should. So yeah, man, it's a weird old world.
Like, what's the UK scene like in terms of like, are people nice? Are they a bit arrogant, a bit full of themselves? Is it a bit of a mixture? Like, how are they compared to sort of the US YouTubers, the LA YouTubers?
In terms of comparison, like, don't really know, because I don't know much about the American scene, but most of the YouTubers that have come on the podcast are nice, and one thing that always gets me is I might have made a video about them, about something they've done wrong. I always try and do it in jest as well, so even if I'm calling someone out, I'll always try and make it funny. So for example, like the honeycomb on the brie for Alfie and stuff, like I'll always try and come up with comedy has always got to be the number one thing. So one thing I hate is when someone will come on my podcast that maybe I've called out before, and some of my audience will go, now you've had them on the podcast, you really like them. It's like, no, I'm not. That doesn't mean that the thing that they did before I now think is a great thing. Like, Ollie White might come on my podcast, and I might go, he's actually a nice guy, but that doesn't mean his merch wasn't shit, or the McDonald's video he did wasn't, like, severely out of touch. I can then, because I've met them now, I can now start judging them as a person rather than a YouTuber, and you can separate the art from the person. I use the term art very loosely there, but yeah. So 90% of the people that come on my podcast, British YouTubers, have been fine. Have been great. But as people, as YouTubers, maybe not so much.
What's it been like for you with your own podcast? Obviously, you've had a few sort of podcast type formats in the past as well. What made you want to do like a proper one in a studio, like I suppose your typical sort of podcast in a studio setting? Yeah,
I've tried a number of series. I did Clickbait with Tom Norris. I did my old podcast at the YouTube studios, and they were good, but they weren't what I wanted them to be. And I think I'm a good talker. I think I'm better at improvised comedy than I am scripted comedy. So I'm quite quick in a conversation type format. So I always knew I wanted to do a podcast. I'm quite what's the word I'm looking for? I'm talking about being good at conversation, and I forget the word I'm looking for. But I'm quite good at causing a debate and being
pushing the right buttons and getting the best from people.
Yeah, splitting opinions and stuff. So and I got bored of just being here in this shed. So it's good to get down to London, and it's by far, I don't know if you'll agree, but it's by far the most successful series I've ever done. I'm blown away by the support. When people come up to me and they tell me they're like Happy Hour, that means 10 times more to me than it does when they say they're like my main channel videos. Because it's just my passion project and something that I'm putting my all in this year.
I like also the Happy Half Hour as well that you do with Robbie Knox. That's a really good sort of spin-off series.
Yeah, thanks.
I love the fact that you've done sort of a few different episodes now. I think you've done 5 as we're recording this. You've done ones like marriage, making friends. Yeah. The longest one so far though just happens to be alcohol. Just thought you'd done alcohol.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one that literally came out in the last hour. Today's one. And I think that's just a little bit longer. But this is the thing that we'll start to see, I think, because they were meant to be the spin-offs. They were meant to be half an hour. But when you sit down with Robbie Knox, as you'll know, you just want to pick his brain for as long as possible. So we're calling them half an hour. They're probably going to be far longer. But
They'll end up longer than the main ones.
Yeah.
But he's got so many great stories, hasn't he, Robbie? You can just talk to him forever.
Yeah,
he's got a story about everything.
He says quite often that life is all about stories, and a lot of people, including myself, can be walking cliches at times. But I think Robbie is the first person I've seen that stands by everything he says. So when he says that he'll do anything for a laugh, life's all about stories. He's killing time until he dies. He personifies all of those things for me, and he's such an inspiration. He is hands down. I know I just said Gervais is the nicest man in the world. I'll have to drop him down a second because Robbie Knox here gets the plaudits there.
Do you plan to do podcast long term? Is that something that you want to do?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm under no kind of like false illusions that my YouTube channel has a shelf life. People could get bored. If people stop giving a shit about YouTubers doing bad things, then by default I'm out of a job. So that's kind of why I wanted to do something a bit more mature, for lack of a better phrase, and something that's very separate to the JaackMaate channel. So in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we may see that become my only thing. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm very much enjoying doing both.
Is that also why you're writing or trying to write a sitcom at the moment as well, as like another sort of thing you might do in the future?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I've just always had a dream of writing and producing and directing a sitcom. So I'm writing that now with my friend Alfie, who again in my previous video. And it's just I want to do as much as possible while I can, and that's something I really enjoy. So who knows? In 5 years, we may see it on the TV.
Yeah, might do. Never know. Or on Netflix or something.
Yeah, Netflix would be the dream. The dream.
Can you reveal any like details about it, or are you keeping it fairly sort of quiet for now?
It's inspired by extras.
Right.
As most of my stuff seems to be inspired by work that Gervais has done, and it has a lot of elements about YouTube fame and internet fame that's undeserved, and kind of plays on my mind of what I really think about all of that, and how shallow and fickle that world can be.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about sort of writing about what you know, isn't it, and the experiences that you've been through. So it's, it could be something that could be quite interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%.
I also wanted to speak about if you were going to sort of be doing stand up or anything like that. Is that something that you want to pursue this year or at some point?
Yeah. The only reason I haven't done more of it is out of fear. That's right. Yeah. Literally no other reason why. I think I have the potential to do it. It's just a matter of getting through the gigs. So at the moment, we've just had Sean Walsh on the podcast, who's a comedian. Rob Beckett's going to be coming on. We've got Gervais coming back on. I'm using them hours as my little lessons to learn as much about it as I can, and hopefully craft an art. But I used to always want to use YouTube as a stepladder to becoming a comedian, a more mainstream comedian. But now I'm doing okay on YouTube, and I see a lot of mainstream celebrities make YouTube channels. I think I'm all right where I am right now. So until that YouTube channel starts to die or stagnate a bit, I think I'll continue doing what I'm doing now.
Because at one point it seemed like you maybe wanted to, I don't know whether this is true or not, but maybe go into the TV route a little bit, because you did like the Big Brother thing a while back now.
Yeah.
And then you've done a few other TV shows as well, I think you made appearances on. Was that something that you were thinking about more so in the past rather than in the future?
100%. I regret any time I've been on television. I wouldn't say regret, but I don't look back on it fondly. Like, I think when I was 17, 18, and I was trying to find my way, and I didn't have a YouTube channel really, I thought, right, I want to be famous. What's the quickest way of doing that? And I went down the shitty routes that, like, Hotel of Mum and Dad on BBC Three and Big Brother. Luckily, I was only in the house for a week as part of the trial housemates, because I think I'd have fucked my career from the off had I gone in as a proper one. I'd always be remembered as that guy that was on Big Brother. Luckily, I got to experience it, which was fun, but I'm not now attached to that stigma. So yeah, TV. I mean, I'll take it if the right job comes along, but I won't just be a fucking guinea pig for Davina McCall or whoever's doing it now. That shows my age, doesn't it?
I think they've cancelled it now.
Oh, fair
no longer a thing, is it?
There you go. There you go.
It doesn't seem like TV is as much of a sort of a thing that people aspire for nowadays. Like, it seems a bit more like the internet sort of running the show over TV.
Yeah, it's not as much as it's not. It once upon a time it was a big draw to be on television, and now it's just filled with utter shit. It's like the Masked Singer. Do I give it? Who is in this hedgehog costume? Yes, I do.
Oh, it's Chico. It's Chico behind the mask. Brilliant! Just what I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Just when I needed, Chico's pops out the hedgehog.
Yeah. Mental.
Only the biggest celebrities.
Yeah, and that's why television is. It's just like when I used to moan about I don't know how much of my older content you would have seen, but I used to moan about YouTubers doing the chubby bunny challenge and stuff like that. That's prime time ITV now. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
In a couple of weeks' time, we're going to see Keith Lemon shoving fucking marshmallows in his mouth while Mr. Chow from The Hangover tries to guess how many's in there. That's mental.
I also wanted to talk a bit a bit more about YouTube because for me personally, I obviously really enjoy what I do, really enjoy making videos. But the only time I get a little bit nervous is when I go to sort of upload a video. Do you have those sort of nerves when you upload a video?
Yeah, I get.
Is it going to go down well?
Yeah, I get massive dread. Not so much for what people think of it, because if I'm uploading it, I've given it the green light there. When it comes to is it going to offend people? It will always offend people. But
there's always with someone. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've thought a lot about the jokes before I say them. I'll watch it back 5-10 times to make sure the butt of the joke isn't it's not actually not racist. It might be about race, but it's not a racist joke.
That's not the focus of it.
Yeah, so I can hold my own when it comes to that. The reason that I get such dread when I click upload is that it's just going to flop on views, and then that's you've had your peak, Jack. There's no more advent calendars, mate, and you're on the way out. So but then it's hard. It's like a drug, because when I upload one and it bangs, and the first 24 hours it's getting the views, it's such an adrenaline rush. It's like, I want to do the next one. I want to do the next one. On the flip side of that, if you upload one and it doesn't do well on views, you think, this is my career done now. I better start getting down the job centre.
So I also wanted to sort of talk a little bit about, do you think you will quit YouTube at any point? Is that a possibility, do you think? Or do you see it as something you'll always continue to do on the side?
I'd love to sit here and say that I wouldn't ever quit. But I mean, it's a feasible option. I might do, because I struggle to call myself a commentary YouTuber now, because... Yeah.
I'm sort of in the same bracket as you with the sort of videos that I make, and I don't really like it.
Yeah, it's just the fact that to be a commentary YouTuber, you need to commentate consistently on the state of YouTube. I don't give a shit about it.
Neither do I. I just use it as a way to sort of laugh at things, make jokes about things. I don't actually care.
Yeah. No, you can definitely see that in your content, that your main point is to get a laugh. And that's kind of what I want as well. People come to me as kind of like this kind of like Robin Hood of YouTube, and they're like, oh, talk about JStation. JStation's obviously just done some of the worst ever. I haven't touched it because I don't care. And that could be a million view banger, that, but I've got to sit there and talk about some guy that everyone knows as a... we're not breaking the mold. We're not breaking the mold there. So I think as soon as my passion for that dies completely, I may quit, but I wouldn't say quit is the right word. I may move on to just doing my podcast full time, or I may get a chat show on television, or may get a Netflix sitcom. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think I'll be quitting for no reason. There'll be something else coming.
And so, have you ever thought about quitting? In the past, when you first started, did you ever get people obviously might have been saying things at school or whatever? Was there any sort of feeling that I might just not do this anymore?
Yeah, I nearly quit loads of times. I hit 100k views, as I said, stayed on that for about 3 years. Got sad. Got quite down. Thought this is not for me. So I went and got a job at Bella Italia, and. I could have made... I regret it, because for the 9 months I was at Bella, I wasn't doing anything on the YouTube channel, and I could have got where I am now 9 months before. I bump into people on nights out. They say, I really want to do a channel about doing drum covers. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If that's your passion, do it. Go and do it. No one's stopping you. And then a year later, they'll come back and they'll go, I still really want to do that channel, man. So, who's telling you not to? So whether you get 1 view or a million per, just keep doing it, and then you might have that little gem once in a while. That little Zoella advent calendar might come out, and then things change. Do you know what I mean? I never once ever imagined that calendar video would be the thing to change everything, but it certainly did. And one thing I always tell people as well is, if you feel like quitting because you're not enjoying it, yeah, that's something you really have to debate. But never feel like quitting because you're not getting the views. Because at the start, you will be shit. Like, I'm still shit. I've been doing it 11 years. You find your way. And if you have been doing it a few years and you look back and you cringe at your old content, that's a good thing because it shows you how much
you're getting better.
Yeah, how much you progress. So, yeah, never get to... Well, it's hard to tell them not to get disheartened about views because I certainly did, but try not to, because if you're confident in the stuff you're putting out and you're happy with it, then you're already winning.
And for me personally, for 6 years I had like a gaming channel, so I made like gaming videos, primarily like FIFA and stuff. And then like in the last year or sort of 18 months, I've transitioned to more what people might call commentary, or what I prefer, comedy, sort of entertainment type videos about what's happening on the internet and stuff. And obviously for me, having a channel with 20,000 subscribers when I did the gaming videos, to then make those 20,000 people want to watch a different type of content, it is difficult, and it's sort of inevitable you're going to struggle to get the same sort of views.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any sort of advice for like people that are sort of worried a little bit by sort of changing the content up a bit?
Always do it. Always change it, because you can't continue to make content that you're not enjoying just because that's what's paying the rent or that's what's getting the views. You have to ultimately do what you enjoy. In terms of trying to convert an old audience into a new type of content, very rarely that's going to work, because people know what they like, and you can't convince somebody. You might be able to convince your best mate who likes food videos to watch your channel, but you're not going to be able to convince 3,000 people that haven't seen you. So I'd almost see it as, let them know what you're doing. You'll get a few that trickle through, take that as a win, cut it off, and then try and appeal to a new audience, because you can't change how someone feels. And that's why YouTube's so fickle, because if you make one video that somebody doesn't like, they might go, not watching you anymore, and somebody that's watched you for 8 years might just drop you in a blink of an eye. Yeah,
it was unbelievable when I sort of changed my videos. Obviously, like I said, been doing gaming videos for 6 years. And then I made like 3 sort of different types of videos, or more sort of comedy or entertainment type videos. And then I remember after the 3rd video, someone left a comment and they were like, oh, this hasn't worked, go back to the gaming stuff. It's like, it's been 3 videos, just done 6 years. I'm going to need a little bit more time to sort of perfect things.
Yeah,
and it is quite a fickle place, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And that guy that commented that, I always clap back at the people that give me shit online. Fiona hates it. She's like, leave it. I like doing it because I find it so funny when people say stuff like that, because this is my channel. You see 10, 15 minutes of me every 2 weeks when I upload. You don't see me sitting there scripting it, filming it, blah, blah, blah. If you don't like it, off. Like, don't stay around then. Do you think that I'm going to get one comment going, oh, I don't like when you do the Love Island videos? Go back to it. Oh, okay, Shannon001 flower _ sunshine. I'll do that. And because of what you've said. If you enjoy it and you've got some constructive criticism, I might take it on board. But just to sit there and go, didn't like it, do it, go back. Who are you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just one person, isn't it? It's meaningless.
Exactly.
And as I think Richard Gervais said in True Geordie's podcast that he did with him, sometimes, to lead the orchestra, you've got to turn your back on the audience, I think, was something that he said.
Right.
And I think sometimes you have to do that in order to do what you want to do. You do have to turn your back on some of the people.
Yeah, I've stopped reading the comments on the Happy Hour channel now. I just don't read them. My friend Tom Norris, who did my old podcast, he runs that channel. He edits it and uploads it. I just thought the comments were too toxic, and once you get the majority of them turn, everyone kind of thinks it's funny and they jump on it. So on Twitter and Instagram, people love the podcast. They DM me all the time, and I'll chat to them people all day long. But like, I don't get when people say, upload the full thing, upload the full video. So I'll upload the full video, and then the top comment, without a shadow of a doubt, will be, skip to 42 minutes to hear Alison Gibbs speak about this specific clip. So it's like, you can't please all of the people all of the time.
You can't win, can you?
You can't win. So yeah, I've stopped reading them.
I mean, I heard True Geordie talk about on his, I think, latest video about maybe turning off his comments. Would that be something you'd think about, or would you still prefer to keep your comments open? Because I think it probably does affect things with the algorithm. That's the only sort of slight problem.
I don't think we'll ever see Brian turn his comments off. I don't think we'll ever see any big YouTuber that still has a number of fans ever turn them off, because you need that engagement. It's all about engagement, and I think Brian is probably just saying that because he's annoyed at the kind of comments he's getting at the moment. And I love Brian, but I think that's kind of more of an emotional response than a logical one. Regardless of what people say about me, I'd keep the comments on. I just wouldn't read them.
Do you feel like you go through sort of periods of big highs and big lows with YouTube? Do you feel like you have like more motivation at some points, less motivation at other points? And how do you sort of get back to the sort of peaks, I suppose?
If I knew the answer to that last bit of how I just get back to the peaks, then I'd be a happy man. But
because you were doing like a fitness thing, weren't you? And that seemed to sort of help you a lot.
Yeah, that does help, but that was a lot of work. I would love to do another one now. I'm planning to do another one soon, but it was a lot of effort. If I'm somebody that, like we spoke about at the start of the show, because my life's not fully YouTube. If I'm not enjoying it, or I'm having a mental slump, or the views aren't going right, I tend to just shun it away and enjoy my life and do things away from YouTube, which isn't good when it comes to paying the rent and keeping something ticking. But that's just how I've always been. I struggle to upload comedy videos when my head's not right. So I just kind of shun it away. But it's got its positives as well, because my audience, when I'm uploading fully and regularly, and they can see I'm in a much better place, and they also kind of understand now when I'm not around, I'm doing my own thing and just letting it kind of do its own thing, if that makes sense.
I also wanted to, on sort of the note of the fitness side of things, obviously you've been doing some boxing training during that as well.
Yeah.
And I think you tweeted maybe yesterday or the day before that you maybe were interested if there was to be some sort of YouTuber boxing event. Was that a serious thing, or would you genuinely like to do that?
Yeah, I'd certainly get involved now. I was a bit anti it at the start, the same as everyone was, but I soon snapped out of that. I've been to both I went to the KSI Logan fight in LA, went to the Gibb one recently against Jake Paul in Miami. They're spectacles, like YouTubers are taken over, and I would be a liar if I said I didn't want a bit of that. So I don't care whether or not it wouldn't be the same scale as them boys, obviously, but I just like boxing. I just like it's a good way to keep fit. I always come out of the gym in a better mental state than I went in with, so I'd happily do it. There was talks of me a year or two ago. I was going to fight Josh Peters. He wouldn't do it now. I've recently had him on my podcast. It's not out yet, but I asked him if he'd still do it. He wouldn't do it now. He doesn't need to. Like back then, he might need a bit of clout, a bit of views.
He's in a different position now, isn't he?
Very different position, and he's not that kind of person anymore. But I certainly would do it, if only for the exercise and to learn a new skill. But the fight would have to be right as well. We'd have to pick somebody that there was genuine beef there. I'd struggle to fake one. But then I don't have to fake one. I'm not someone that has to fake one. I've got enough beef with enough people.
Are there anybody that you think would be a good fit? Because it's got to be sort of similar height and size, do you reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, you could fight someone smaller, you don't mind, do you?
No, yeah, that'd be good for me.
A child.
Yeah. Alfie Days would sell. Ollie White would sell.
That would.
Apart from them two, who else? I mean, the kind of people I'd fight would be the kind of people that if they would beat me, I would have no more career. Like, I'd love to say, like, imagine boxing Morgs. Imagine getting sparked by Morgs.
Imagine.
There's no coming back from that.
That's it, you're done now. You're done.
Yeah, that's it. So, I don't know, I'll fight anyone if the storyline's right.
Yeah. I also wanted to sort of finish things off with some final questions, completely left field, completely random questions, which I sometimes like to ask at the end of these. First of all, if you were a serial killer, what would your nickname be?
Oh.
Because you've got like Jack the Ripper, Edward Scissorhands, he was a bit of a nutter as well.
Yeah.
What would yours be? Because, it could be relevant to your appearance, or, it might be the ginger assassin, strawberry blonde assassin.
Oh,
what would yours be?
God, it'd have to be something to do with YouTube. I Oh, fuck, you put me on the spot. But that's the point. That's the point of the show.
I mean, Jack the Ripper would sort of work. You could go with that one.
I'd probably go Jack the Ripper, but I'd have 2 A's in Jack. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, or maybe what am I? I guess I am a commentator, aren't I? Whether I want to admit that or not. Maybe I'd be the commentator.
Oh,
there you go.
I like that.
Play on words.
And final question, or one of my final questions. I asked this one to Robbie Knox as well.
Yeah.
In the last podcast, if you could extinct one animal, what would it be and why? And Robbie Knox said mosquito, so he could get rid of malaria.
Yeah.
And I said badger, which sort of made me feel a little bit bad.
Yeah, I saw that.
Less noble.
Yeah, I found that funny. Robbie's just being a little white knight there, isn't he, with his mosquitoes? Like, so,
that's people.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm allergic to cats.
Oh,
so when people say, "Oh, they're so cute," it's like they make me itch and they make my eyes leak.
Right.
So I would have to get rid of cats, and also I am a massive fan of dogs. So if dogs could reign supreme over cats, and I could help to do that, then certainly I'd bin cats off.
I like that. I agree.
Yeah.
Keep the dogs, get rid of the cats.
Yeah. 100%.
I'll get rid of beaver this time. I'm going to get rid of the beaver.
Why?
Don't get me wrong, I like a beaver, but at the same time, do you ever see them? Do you never see them, do you?
Yeah, but
let's get rid of them.
But that's because you don't live in a dam. Like,
yeah.
I love any animal that you can kind of like characterize. So like a mole, you can characterize that really well. It's blind, it pops up, it's got a big nose. You can imagine it in a Pixar movie. And a beaver is very much the same. 2 big teeth, gnaws, creates some like brilliant out of wood. You got to keep the beavers, man.
I'm getting rid of him. I'm extinct. Done like that.
All right, you've got the final say on beavers. Who put you in charge?
Right, I'm going to wrap everything up now. Thank you so much for coming on, first of all. I really appreciate it.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching as well. I'd appreciate you dropping a like. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. I'll obviously leave Jack's link in the description below. Not that it really makes a difference. You know who he is, probably. But thank you all anyway. I'll leave it down there for you to click if you haven't already subscribed. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Cheers.